Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be 3 meal ideas. All have beef in them, and there is a theme that I did not realize until I got to like the second or third recipe in this video. Okay, so for dinner tonight I'm doing slow cooker taco chili. I've made like a version of this before, and I'm honestly not going to follow this exact recipe. I'm just going to take a picture of it. That way you can screenshot this exact recipe if you actually want this actual recipe. I'm going to make a few changes. And I'm going to tell you when I'm changing as I do it. And currently I have 1 pound of ground beef browning in my pan. I'm not doing it in the slow cooker. I thought about it, but I don't feel like dirtying the slow cooker, because that's 2 things I have to clean instead of 1. So, yeah. Okay, so the ground beef is still cooking. I've got my medium onion, might not be an actual medium onion, just what I had. I have some kidney beans. It calls for chili beans. I don't have chili beans. It also calls for 3 cans, and I'm not, 1 pound ground beef and 3 cans of beans just seems like a lot. So I'm just going to do 1. And I know my brother, like, I love beans in my chili, but my brother doesn't. So that's why I'm kind of sticking to this. I'm going to do a can of corn. It says a can of diced tomatoes and a can of green chilies. Well, I've got diced tomatoes with green chilies, so we're just going to use that. I don't have tomato sauce. So we're just going to use tomato juice and use a little bit less. And this is stuff that we canned this year. And then taco seasoning. I don't have ranch seasoning, and honestly, I don't like ranch seasoning. I don't like ranch. Very unpopular opinion, I know, but I'll eat ranch dressing, but I don't like the ranch seasoning mix in food, unless it's like something specific. But, so I'm just going to leave that out and add more taco seasoning. So this is kind of my play on this. Like I said, I'm doing what I have, so. This is almost done. Actually, it might be done at this point. I'm going to drain this and add everything else in. Okay, so I drained and rinsed the beans because they weren't chili beans. If they would have been chili beans, I wouldn't have done that. And that's like really thick tomato sauce or tomato juice, so that actually kind of works in my favor. And I'm just going to add like 2 cups because it adds for like a 15-ounce can, so it's like equivalent to almost 2 cups. And if you know me, you know I never measure taco seasoning. So I'm going to do it says for a packet, and a typical packet's like 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to do like 3 heaping tablespoons and then like another one. Because I like my taco seasoning. I like to be able to taste it. And since I didn't have tomato sauce, I am going to add a little bit of sugar. Just to offset the acidity a little bit of the tomatoes. And it says 1.5 cups of water. So that's what it looks like. I'm just going to stir it up. It actually looks and smells really good, so I'm hoping once everything's cooked. And I didn't drain the corn or the tomatoes. I did have a hell of a time getting them out of the cans though, because my can opener broke in the process of it. Yeah, I'm glad I did not use 3 cans of beans. That would have been too much, because I used a can plus like another part of a can that I had in the refrigerator still. But this actually looks really good. I'm actually excited to eat it. I've made something similar to this, but I have never put this much liquid in it because this is actually like a chili. The last time I did it, I just made it like a taco. It was almost like an enchilada thing. If you've seen my enchilada recipe, which I'm pretty sure I've shared on here, then you know what I'm talking about. I just added the corn to it. So, yeah, but I'm going to let this simmer on I'm going to put the lid on it and let it simmer probably about 4 hours. So, yeah. Okay, so this is what the taco chili looks like when it's done. I don't remember if I thickened it up at all. I don't think I did. I probably should have. It was a little bit runnier than I wanted. But I put cheese on top of mine and served it with tortilla chips. The next recipe is cheesy taco pasta. I got this from another YouTuber, in which she got it off Pinterest. If I remember, I'll link that on Pinterest, or link that link down below. This, I just ground up a pound of ground beef. Yeah. And I cooked that and drained it, and then I added in garlic powder because I didn't have fresh garlic, and some taco seasoning. And then it calls for beef broth. I didn't have any beef broth, so I just made my own with water and some of these beef bouillon cubes that I had. And then I added in the Worcestershire sauce, and like I said, all the actual recipes will be down below. That way I don't have to give off measurements and all that. And I am a big fan of use what you have and make any changes that you have to. So that's what I did. Hence, like, I didn't have beef broth, so I used the beef bouillon cubes and water. You'll see where it calls for tomato paste, and I didn't have tomato paste, so I ended up using 6 tablespoons of tomato sauce. It turns out just fine, but just know that if you have to make changes, sometimes it's okay to make changes. So this is what it looks like once everything is added in. You bring this, after that you add in your milk, and then the milk needs to be room temperature so it does not curdle when you put it in there. But I just stirred it really quick to make sure it didn't curdle either way, and it didn't, it was fine. Then you bring this to a boil, and once it's boiling, you add in your pasta. I used shells. I used half a box because that's what I had. Calls for half a pound of pasta, so that was exactly what I had left in my box, or at least I had close to that. So that's what I used, and you can use any pasta you want. I just had shells on hand that needed to be used up, so that's what I used. Okay, so after your pasta is cooked, and you will want to stir that every now and then to make sure it is cooked, you add in 4 ounces of Velveeta and let that melt. I may have added a little bit more than 4 ounces, but yeah. And then you add in a cup of cheddar cheese, and it calls for Monterey Jack. I didn't have Monterey Jack, so I used a cup of mozzarella, and it turned out perfectly fine. It still tasted great. And I made this at my grandpa's house, and he actually liked it. So, yeah, I like to experiment when I'm at my grandpa's house because my brother does not like experimental food. If I cook something new, most likely he is not going to eat it. But I can pretty much experiment, and my grandpa will pretty much eat anything. So, yeah, and I called this an experiment because I'd never made it before. I saw it on a YouTube video, thought it looked good, so I decided to try it out myself. And you can tell I had somebody filming for me that had never filmed before. And then I took the camera back and couldn't stir with one hand. So yeah, that was my mistake. But once all the cheese is melted in, you're good to just let this cool off and serve it up. I just served it up as it was. I don't think it needed anything. But yes, so that's what it looks like after all the cheese is melted. I just let it cool off a little bit, and like I said, I served it as is, and it turned out perfectly fine. Okay, so this next recipe is Enchilada Casserole. It was based off of an enchilada bake that I saw in Y'all Eat Yet, Welcome to the Pretty Bitchin' Kitchen, Miranda Lambert's cookbook. I will link that cookbook down below, but I browned up some ground beef, added in some enchilada sauce, and added in cumin, salt, pepper, paprika, and I think there may have been one other thing, but I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, all the recipes will be down below, and I also changed this one a little bit because it called for corn tortillas, and I only had flour, and it called for salsa verde, and my store didn't have any, but I needed something quick and easy to get on the table this night, so either way, this is what I made. I did make the enchilada sauce, like the ground beef mixture, exactly the same as it says in the cookbook, and then I added in beans. I like beans in my enchiladas. I don't know if that's an everywhere thing or what, but since I like beans in my enchiladas, I did add beans in. That was the one change I made to the beef mixture, but it's turned out perfectly fine. So this is what it looks like once it's cooked up and everything's added. And then I took another clip of it with the beans added, that way you could see it. Like I said, if you want to add beans, you can. If you want to follow the cookbook and the recipe directly, or exactly, you do not have to add in the beans. So next, for the layering process, you need a 9x13 pan. Well, at least mine was a 9x13. I don't know exactly, remember what size that asked for. And you want to spray that really well with some cooking spray. So I sprayed my pan. I layered in 5 tortillas on the bottom. I layered 4, and then I ripped one apart. And then you go in with the beef mixture and put that on top. Put half of the red enchilada sauce, because it called for salsa verde. I didn't have salsa verde because my store didn't have any. So I just used red enchilada sauce. And it turned out perfectly fine. I used half the can on the first layer and half the can on the second layer. After you add the enchilada sauce, you add your cheese, and you repeat that layering process one more time. And then you bake it for, 25 to 30 minutes, I believe. I think it like 350 or 375, until the cheese is melted, pretty much. But this is what it looks like before it's baked. And I will warn you, if you do not like spice, you probably will not like this. This is what it looks like after it's baked. I just served mine with some lettuce and sour cream. The sour cream had kind of fallen off the side, so you can't really see it. But I went back for seconds, and so did my mom, and my brother went back for thirds. So this was a hit in my house, and I will totally make this again. I might make it the way the cookbook says next time, if I can find all the ingredients. But the way I made it turned out perfectly fine. It just had a little bit of a kick. So that's it for these meal ideas. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have not done so already, hit the red subscribe button down below. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.